Well, good afternoon. Now saying what we will try to do on this discussion Bremo, is to do more of the discussion in English because we're talking about education abroad. And I always say that Osaji for Ghana's first president even studied abroad. And if you look at the generation around independence and the generation thereafter, for instance, our current president generation, most of them studied abroad. So studying abroad is not an error, it's not a mistake, it's not that you don't like Ghana. If you look at the statistics in Ghana, all tertiary institutions, especially even if you look at the free SHS that has been introduced, you have a lot more students who are going through the system, and most of them won't get admission. The opportunities in Ghana are limited. So the reason why we come here every day is to expose you to opportunities elsewhere, for instance, abroad, where you can study, where you can have access to scholarships. So today we're focusing on UK education. And can me the but you see, and for baby so my feedback say, yeah, exactly I can is limiting a lot of people because not everybody understands the Akan language. And truthfully, we are talking about education. So if it's education, then it's important that we use the official language that is used in teaching us or in our education system in Ghana. Now, our language is English, so we'll do this in English, and subsequently, all the discussions we'll do them in English. So we're waiting for your questions. Today, we are focusing on United Kingdom, UK schools. There are a number of schools that have opened admission. Some of them are offering admission with waiving the application fee. Last week, we looked at US schools. Most of the schools have waived application for around this time. When this time elapses or this time passes, you pay the application fee. So today we are looking at UK schools, and I have my brother here, Rich, and Richard is a PhD student in the UK, so he knows all the schools that have opened admission in the United Kingdom, those ones that are offering admissions. If you want help with your personal statement, how to fill the application form, how to be successful, how to get the scholarship. Because Richard has 2 scholarships, that's very juicy. So he will share his experience with us. So Richard, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sister Fia.
Good.
So, first of all, I don't know. Let me
First of
say
all, I
a
think you
very
should share your experience with us. How did you move
yes.
from Ghana? Because I know you are almost like a hot cake in Ghana when you were in school. How did you manage to get 2 scholarships in the UK?
Yeah, so let me say a very good afternoon to our brothers and sisters back in Ghana. So it's always a good moment when we have the opportunity to interact with them and share experiences as well as what is happening. I mean, this is the only opportunity we get to talk to our brothers and sisters back home. So back to your question, I think in my case, I came to the UK with the idea of starting a master's degree. That's what I came in with. So I came to start a master's degree. That was in 2022, just last year.
Oh, okay. With a
I,
scholarship, right?
yeah, with a scholarship, 2 scholarships actually
Scholarship.
for my master's and for the PhD as well. So in all 4 scholarships.
You
So
had 4 scholarships. Wow.
yeah, so I think prior to coming to the UK, I was unemployed, obviously. A recent graduate from Winneba. So I think I was working with a lot of lecturers at Legon, UHAS, Gempa, Winneba, then Amstead, Mampong campus. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of the professors and lecturers over there because I used to work with them. So that's what I was doing prior to coming to the UK. And for me, it was more of the skills I had and the kind of things I was doing back home.
Okay.
Those were the things that opened the doors for me to come in because even uh, having the scholarships, these were scholarships that will not fund your travel expenses. So it means you would have to fund that. And I was unemployed, so definitely I needed people to do that for me. So I mean, I had to talk to the big people that I was supporting and assisting back home to help me because it's not really the case that I'm from a home that we really have enough to take care of some of these things. I mean, I come from very humble home back in Ghana. I'm from Tiobodom. Those who know me,
Oh,
uh,
I know Tiobodom.
my,
I
my
know
entire
Tiobodom.
life in Tiobodom, did my basic education, everything in Tiobodom prior to going to the university. So it was a really humble beginning.
So
So
from Tiobodom to Winneba and then
yes,
to UK.
to UK.
Impressive,
Yes, so
impressive.
it was a huge jump for me. Yeah, so I would say for me it was the skills and the
What
fence.
skills? Explain the skills to us. What skills? Because you said you were unemployed, and we
Yes,
and we know that you were a student at the time. So what skills got you
yes,
the 4 scholarships? Because that's impressive.
yes. So in my case, prior to, I think there was a course we took in level 300. The course was called Biostatistics. So in the course outline, I think the last item on the course outline was SPSS. And unfortunately for us, and this happens a lot in Ghana, you have a situation where you have a course outline, say you have 10 topics to take on the outline, then at the end of the day, because of unforeseen circumstances, you're able to do only 8.
Mhm.
So you are left with some of the things on the outline that you don't get to do. So this SPSS, then we didn't get the opportunity to look at it in class. So I made it a point that I have to look at this thing. I have, even though we didn't look at it in class, I have to look at it because whenever I download papers online, I will see people writing in their papers that we use SPSS this, we use SPSS. I was like,
Mhm.
what is this SPSS about that?
Mhm.
We have it in our outline, but we didn't cover it. So I decided to learn it. And lo and behold, it is something that is very much into research. I mean, it is an application that is used for research, basically. So that really got me interested in research, and I started developing my research skills. So when it
Okay.
comes to data analysis, Excel, SPSS, R, those kind of softwares, those who are into statistics and those, I
Okay.
mean, they know these applications. So I
Mm.
started developing that. So by the time I was done with my first degree, I had these skills at my fingertips, and lecturers love these skills.
So you are
Always,
saying that the first degree itself is not enough to get you all these scholarships. To be able to get yourself ahead, you must get additional skills. That's what you're saying.
yes, I think in most instances, your first degree alone is very much not enough, irrespective of the class you get. You
Mhm.
could be the best graduate, whatever, but then you need some of these soft skills as well. For most cases, some people are able to go through with their class. I mean, you get some people getting CGPAs 3.9, 4.0, 3.8. If you are that at that level, you are likely to go through some of the scholarships. But in most instances, those are not enough. You
Mm.
need a lot of additional soft skills that you need to build, like your
Okay.
ability to handle, analyze data, ability to write, I mean, paper statements, getting proper recommendation letters, putting your CV in such a way that it gives you a competitive advantage.
Okay.
These are things you have to develop.
Okay.
So your class alone is woefully
Not
insufficient.
enough. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to we haven't finished exploring how you got there. So how do let's assume that those were the things that got you ahead in the scholarship. But how about the visa? Does the scholarship get you the visa to go to the UK and all that so that we can explore the other? Because I want you to go into the list of the schools in the UK that have opened the admission. But let's share your experience with us about how did you get the student visa too? Because I hear that's difficult.
Yes. I think with the UK, it's quite straightforward with the visa issues,
Okay.
especially when it comes to students.
Oh, okay.
The processes are there. So once you meet the requirement, usually you have nothing to fear because it's quite straightforward and it's not so very much difficult to get if everything you have is genuine and you have your things in order. So there are several levels to it.
Okay.
So you have those that have funding that cover their travel expenses,
Oh, okay.
like those who get Chevening scholarships. I know Chevening
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scholarships, their travel expenses are covered. Then we have other scholarships that will not cover your travel expenses. So it means you would have to prepare for that. Then
Mm.
we have those that are coming into the UK without scholarships. So if you are coming into the
So
UK
they are
without,
fee paying students.
yes, so basically we call you a self-funding student. So you are going to
Mhm.
fund yourself. So
Mhm.
for those people, that is where usually the problem is, because then you have to demonstrate that you have the financial capacity to take care of yourself. And if you are bringing your dependent, like your child or your wife or your husband, then you have to also demonstrate that you can take care of them. So
Mm.
that is where usually a lot of people get problems. But with the UK, it's not so much of a difficult process. I mean, there are tips on how to do that. There are guidance on how to go about that. Usually, the best practice is that you do not wait to say a month or two to
Okay.
your visa application before you start preparing for that.
Okay.
The moment you know, say you go to school next year 2024, you are planning to go to school 2024, and you know you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket
Mhm.
because probably you know you may not get a scholarship.
Mhm.
And so you know this ahead of time. So what you need to do is start building a statement for yourself, and I mean a bank statement, either your own statement or that of your parents. So you do that over a long period of time so that by the time you are ready to apply, you already have that there. You don't wait till say a month to your visa application, then you're now looking around for how to show that you can fund yourself. So that is a mistake people do. You don't have to wait. If you know you go
So
to
don't
school
wait
next
till the time is close
year,
to, yeah,
no,
the period where you have to go to school. Start it early,
yes,
say a year ahead of
yes,
time or 6 months ahead of
yes.
time.
So if you know you go to school next year, start this year, start
Mhm.
preparing,
Okay.
start knowing about, I mean, the requirements, what you need in terms of the financial
Mhm.
this thing, because the UK has different rules from other countries. I think in Canada, you could have somebody vouching for you, but in the
Yes.
UK, it's not like that. The person has to be your parent
Oh,
or
okay.
yourself. And
Okay.
so you cannot go and take the bank statement of, say, an uncle or somebody and say, this person is going to fund my
I think
education.
this is very important information for people who are
Yes,
interested in UK schools.
yes,
I don't know if I should say this in Nakan, but we have agreed that we'll do this in English. So it's very important. It says in the UK it's different. In other countries, Canada, US, you can have another person vouch for you. I think even in Germany is the same thing. The last time we spoke to Professor Ajayi, he said the same thing. That an uncle who lives in Germany can vouch for you and support your application with their bank statement. But he says the UK, it has to be your parents or yourself. It's very important. Your parents or yourself for UK schools. Richard, please continue.
yeah. So some of these rules get updated and changed. So that's why I said I'm talking about preparing ahead. So the moment you know you'll be going to school next, say, 6 months or next year, just go to all these are available on the UK Home Office website. If you go there, you see all these requirements that then you're able to differentiate the requirements for Canada from the requirements from UK. And that's one of the
Mm.
problems we have. I think a week ago somebody came to ask me a question and I nearly got angry because the person just came and asked me, I want to apply to a school abroad and get scholarships that are easy to get and I wouldn't suffer when I get there. So my question in my head was, you want to go abroad, you want to get scholarships which you wouldn't struggle to get, and you're coming to ask me this question.
Definitely, the person is not ready to do the work. And you see,
Because-
it's very interesting because I think since we started doing these interviews, I find that very common. A
yes.
lot of young people want people to do fill my application form for me.
Hmm,
People
hmm,
just don't want to do things on their own. I
hmm.
think that one of these days we'll do a conversation about education in general, whether the kind of education in Ghana is just spoon feeding us, is wiring us not to think outside the box or not to push our minds. It's as if we always want, can I pay you to do this? Can I do this to it's very terrible. How were you? You also grew up in Ghana, so how were you able to do things on your own? But compared to a lot of young people, they just want do this for me, do this for me. Do how are you able to get around it?
Yeah, so I think most of the things have to do with confidence and self-efficacy.
Mm.
And I would advise the youth, especially those at the JHS, SHS level who are watching us and have these interests, is that if you start developing through the academic ladder, commit yourself to the philosophy that any form you will be asked to fill in school or at home, you are going to do it on your own.
Mhm.
I'm not saying don't ask if you have a difficulty, but make it a point to be filling your forms. But the moment you do some of these things from an early stage, you get to the point where you build the confidence. Because I work with routine data, or what we call administrative data. One of the things you see is that for most administrative data, the questions are basically the same. So if you apply filling forms for scholarship, if you are filling forms for visa, if you are filling forms for application, you see that majority of the questions across all these forms are the same.
Mhm.
You only have a few questions that differ, that apply
Mhm.
specifically to that particular issue you're dealing with. And so if you apply yourself to filling some of these things on your own, by the time you get to the level where you have to apply for PhDs, masters, scholarships, you have the confidence and self-efficacy to be able to do some of these things on your own. And so you get to times where you have just a few technicalities you may not understand. Then you can reach out to somebody. Oh, I'm filling this form. I met this question. Can you explain it to me? Then the person will be in a better position to guide you. But the idea that you have to fill this form, then you pick the whole thing and go and give it to somebody. I'm to fill this form, fill it for me. That's not very helpful. There was a recent case in the UK, I think last month, where one guy was in school and he was called, and the call was from the home office that there is a lady at the airport that has been detained, and
Wow.
the lady is claiming the guy is the husband, so they are calling to confirm. And the guy said, no, 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 I don't know this lady. She's not my wife. And so upon investigation, the what happened was that the guy, when he was applying for his visa and all those things, just gave it to an agent to do it. So he was not in control. I mean, he had nothing to do with
Okay.
it. He was just sitting down. Somebody was doing the application for him. So the person doing the application added a lady to his application,
Mhm.
his wife, and the guy didn't know.
And he had no idea.
No idea. So he was in school where they call him that your wife has come. I was like, who is my wife? She was not my wife.
This is a bonus wife by force wife. They force the wife on him. That's why it's important that you do a lot of things
Yeah,
yourself.
so
So,
some of
Richard,
these
let's
things,
mhm,
yeah,
go
you
on.
have to do it. Even if somebody is doing it for you, you have to be in control. I mean, let the person explain what they are doing to you. Get to understand what they are doing so that in future, if you are to fill a similar form, you can use that knowledge to fill the form.
Okay, so Richard, let's go to the general one, which is that which schools now have opened admissions in the UK?
Yeah, so Sister Fia, with the UK, I think the UK system is quite different.
Different, okay.
And it different in the way that most schools have ongoing applications. So there is nothing like we've closed
Um,
applications, we've opened applications,
oh, it's not like the
especially
US where they have spring admissions, winter
for
admissions, summer admissions, and all that. Okay.
no. In the UK, most of the schools do rolling applications, and so the applications are open all year round.
Mm,
Most of the schools, except
okay.
for a few programs that you would have application deadlines, and especially for the master's degree. So if it is your intent to apply for a master's in the UK, you can relax and know that at any point in time you can apply. The
Okay.
only thing is that they have two entry periods, which is January and September. And
Okay.
so if you apply close to January, they will admit you for September.
Okay.
And if you apply close to September, they will admit you for January. So
Okay.
if you have to check when do you want to go to school. And the issue is that most of the time for master's degrees, most of the scholarships are for September.
Oh, most
In
of the say
yes,
that again because that's a
after
lot of people are
September
interested in the scholarship. So for
yeah,
master's degree or those who are doing graduate, those who are hoping to take graduate courses,
yes,
the target is to apply around September, which means you have to apply around summer, around the long
maybe
vac in Ghana,
January,
around June, July.
January, February, because then you have to get there are a lot of things you have to get prior to even your visa.
Okay,
So
okay.
in the UK, you have to get a lot of things prior to your visa. So you have to get the admission, and the admission there are two types. There is conditional and unconditional.
Mhm.
So you have to get an unconditional letter first. Then second, you get what we call the CAS, which is the confirmation of acceptance of studies. If you don't
Mhm.
have the CAS, you cannot apply for a visa.
Ah, okay.
So you first need an unconditional letter, then you need a CAS.
Mhm.
And so if your target is September, it means you have to start the process early, maybe around January, February, or even December.
So for those who want admission, say for September
Yes.
2024, this is the time to start the application.
From now, you can start an application from now. And usually they will, when you're doing the application, they will ask which entry period you want to be admitted
Mhm.
for. So
Mhm.
you can indicate that you want September entry.
Mhm.
Then you do that. So if you have admission by January or February, then you can work with them to get whatever conditions you have to meet to get an unconditional letter.
Okay.
Then you get your CAS. So by May, June, if you have your CAS, then you can start thinking about your visa.
Okay. So Richard, you are there. Which schools would you advise? You are in the science field, so maybe let's start with science field. Those who are into those who did chemistry, those and these days we get a lot of questions from people who did nursing,
Mm,
pharmacy, and lab technicians. Which schools would you advise? Because you are in the system in the UK. Which
yes.
schools would you advise them to target?
So I think the number of schools and it depends on your ability or your what qualification you're bringing in. So if you are
So
in
let's
the
say for master's program, they are looking at graduate studies. Which
yes,
school?
for masters programs, the number of schools you could get into, most of them are very good schools, like Aberdeen, where I did my masters, Swansea, where I'm doing my PhD, of course. Then Bristol, you can think about Surrey, you can think about Sheffield, Nottingham, Portsmouth. These are all good schools. I
Okay.
mean,
Can you mention the schools again? Because I got Aberdeen. Aberdeen is a top class school, so but it's good for those who did oil and gas, law,
yeah,
and all those things.
for the
And I
sciences.
see that these days they've started business courses too as well. But it's very
Aberdeen,
difficult to get into Aberdeen. All the schools you are giving us is very difficult. Aberdeen, Swansea,
Aberdeen is
Bristol, Surrey,
currently
Sheffield is difficult.
yeah,
Um,
Sheffield, Nottingham, I mean Bristol, but uh, if you sometimes let me say this, it depends on what you're looking at.
okay.
Some most of the students, I think, for those who think they may not get a scholarship,
Mhm,
they are looking at schools with low funding
mhm,
requirements. So
mhm.
school fees that is very low. So for those ones, I have about six of them that their
Okay,
fees are usually very low. So
okay.
you have a school like Robert Gordon University.
Mhm. Take
That's
your
also
time. Mention one. Okay. The
yeah
first one is mhm,
Robert Gordon University.
okay.
That's in Aberdeen, Scotland. Then you have Glasgow Caledonian University.
Mhm.
They also have very low fees. Then you have Bradford. Bradford. You have a lot of Ghanaians there. Bradford. Then you have Keele University, Keele, Keele. I think over there you have a lot of Ghanaians and Nigerians because the fees are quite, I mean,
Mhm.
manageable. Then University of Hull. Hull too has very low
Can you
fees.
spell that? University of
H
H A
H U H
H.
U L L Hull.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think yeah, these are some of the schools where you
Okay.
could have
So let
fees
me
to.
repeat the schools again, and maybe I'll repeat this in Nakan. Pacho Richard Ekase. There are schools where your scholarship almost school fees ni sa. Te ho de obetimi manage. So write these schools down. So UK baby upese usua adia. University of Hull, Keele University, Robert Gordon University, Glasgow, University of Glasgow, Caledonian.
No,
Okay.
Yeah,
online
Caledonian. Or more Glasgow, Nankasa, or more Glasgow, Caledonian.
Caledonian, the Caledonian and our can.
Yeah.
Okay, so University of Glasgow Caledonian. And also for more and more media background, no, is very good. Or a lot of media courses. Any idea about me? Bradford University. So our schools when you move school fees no so a manageable. To where your scholarship cry ubetimi de abo ho. Mama send o kakra kakra ubetimi. Odi now bagana obenya adwuma ye. You see, ade ankofo bebre adwene nkoso no say there are lots of multinational companies e bagana. Oil na Ghana enya no gold ne ade even Unilever a multinational company. Yeah, even media houses now say bebre a multinational company, a multimedia, despite media or other nationals or more adwuma ho. Omo pe enkrofo a omo diversified exposure. Enti nya Ghana nko na wo experience wo wasua de wo another country wasua de wo baby wo hu nkofo foforo adwene wanya experience wo other people a ya ebie nipa wadwene mu ye nananom ka se ye ntena fa akonye num grase no. That is the essence of saade say exposure ebie wadwene mu enye adesua nko ani book no a ye kenkan no adwene mu ebie nso ka ho enti wo nante wo wiase na ne nipa bebre nya nkita wo de ebie wadwene mu nyama bebre ye nkyere no classroom ye kyere na brabom. Enti multinational for no be foul because wako school kakra Ghana, wako school kakra brochi, wako school kakra we shankofo bebe bie wadun to be foul. Nti hye no so. If o target ne say o pe bi da ache a, getting additional exposure will just benefit wa wumu any one kasa wa application. So write it down. University of Hull, Kelly University, Robert Gordon University, Glasgow Caledonian, Bradford University. And I also saw your target is for the top class kind of schools. They kind of USA Ivy League schools, no. Ujidi say, oh, dear, what being, GPA ni ye, ubetime nya good school, no, dear. Aberdeen University, Swansea University, Bristol University, Surrey University, Sheffield University, ubetime ako Leeds, mini aba Pegiama Donko School on Leeds, omunyina ye big schools, University, London School of Economics, big school, omunyina ombefa.
You cannot, we have a class of schools, we call them Russell Group.
Okay.
I think there are about 17 or so universities. So if it is somebody's intention to get into a top tier university in the UK, then you can search for the Russell Group.
Okay.
Russell. Russell Group. I don't know if they're spelling right, but if you check, you get it. It's like the Ivy League in the US. Okay. So Russell Group, you can get one at Oxford and at Cambridge, and I mean Leeds. Leeds is a Russell Group university, so they usually have a lot of funding for research.
Okay.
So if it is your intention to get in a Russell Group, you can search. There are about 17 universities that form the Russell Group. Yeah.
Okay. So this is very important for those who are into science, chemistry, biology. Those who those are the targets you should, and those are science and research-based schools. So it's very easy to get scholarship. I have a question from Felix Edward Chakbu about PhD. I'll come to that question, but can you tell us the general qualifications, say for undergrad and then masters, the general criteria, the requirements?
Yeah. So with undergrad, no, because I didn't come to do undergrad, it's something I don't have an experience of, but I have read on it, and I think you will usually need English language qualification, or which is the either TOEFL, IELTS. It depends on the school. Some schools have different qualifications, but usually you need the English language qualification, and you also need some schools will require you that you have some international examination done. So I think there are a number of international examinations. So if it's your interest to do an undergrad, then go search for the international examinations you would have to write, which includes the English language test that you have to have. So these are the things you need. For masters, you usually need a first degree. And in most instances, you have to have at the minimum a second class lower, at the minimum.
Okay.
But it is program specific. Some programs will require that you have second class upper. Some, even with first class, you cannot get into. So it depends on the program. But at the minimum, you must have second lower at the minimum. Okay. Then for PhD, so again on the masters, when it comes to English
language, the masters, are you still required to do the IELTS for the UK schools?
There are a lot of distinctions between programs and schools. So it is not required for most schools and most programs. If you're a Ghanaian, But there are some countries that you may be required to write. Some schools will also still require you that you have the IELTS, even if you're a Ghanaian. So that is one thing you have to look out for. So when I was looking for master's degrees in the UK, I was very selective. So I look for schools that will not require IELTS of me. So there are a number of schools that do not require the IELTS, especially if you're a Ghanaian. They will just accept your WASI. So if you have A1 to C6 in WASI, they will take it as proof that
So
you
it's
can speak
A1 to
to
C6
C6
in English.
in English
Okay.
for WASI.
So that
So
means if you have one of those D7, they won't take it. Because we discussed this last week in the US schools. But some schools in the US kind of allow the D7. So, but in the UK, you are telling us that it has to be A1 to C6.
yeah, that's what I've seen with most of the schools. Of course, I wouldn't know about all the schools, but those that I've seen for
Okay.
English language, they will require that you have WASI A1 to C6 for masters.
Okay.
Yes, so that is that for the masters. For PhD, you need a bachelor's degree. That's the basic requirement. And for most of the programs I've seen, you need second class upper for your bachelor's degree. Then you need the English language qualification. What most of them accept is that they will accept your bachelor's degree transcript. If you did your entire 4 years degree in Ghana, then it is proof that you've been taught and studied in English language. So that is enough qualification. But some schools will still require the WASI or IELTS. In my case, none of the schools I applied to required IELTS or WASI. They only needed my undergraduate transcript to show that I've studied in Ghana for 4 years, which meant that I've been taught in English language. So that's the qualification for basic qualification for PhD. But some schools and programs will require that you have a master's degree.
Okay.
Not
So
all
let me
schools.
ask you about for those who have diploma certificate, that means they can't get the master's program, right? They can't get into the master's program.
No,
Those who have
depends.
HND, the old HND, before it was upgraded into a degree, what happens to them? Can they apply?
Yes, they can. I think these things that we are discussing are very program specific. I have seen a lot of schools that will allow, with even without a diploma, without a degree at all, nothing, they can allow you to come and do a master. Yes, a lot of UK. I've seen a lot of programs in the UK where, as part of their admission requirements, they will say that if you have significant experience in the field, but without a degree, they can consider your application, but those applications will be considered on a case by case basis.
Okay.
So even if you have a diploma, HND, or you don't have a degree at all, but you have a lot of experience in the field. So if you're applying for public health and you can demonstrate that you've been working in the public health field for, say, 5-10 years, then that could qualify you into a master's program here, even if you have a diploma or an HND.
So you still encourage those who have HND, the old HND certificate, those who have diplomas, to try it.
Yes, just try. I mean, look at the program requirements first. Every program and their requirements. Some of them will put there that if you have these conditions, they can accept you. Some wouldn't allow it. So you would have to search and check the requirements first. If it is a school or program that allows that, then you can make the step to apply.
Are you aware of particular schools in the UK that have maybe a master's program or undergrad program for nurses? Because I know the nursing certificate is a diploma one. And I know a lot of the nurses are looking to upgrade themselves. How about that? Do you know of particular schools that offer these upgrade courses for nurses?
Yeah, so with nursing, I think it will be difficult for me to know. But I think I know of the Glasgow Caledonian I mentioned, Robert Gordon University. I mean, they do nursing, masters in nursing.
Oh, okay.
Aberdeen does not do masters in nursing. Some of the schools don't do masters in nursing, some do. So I think specific schools will be difficult for me to mention. But what I'll tell anybody looking for that is that you go and search. It's easy to search some of these things on Google. You just, type masters in nursing degrees in UK. You get a list of schools that offer such programs. But Sister Fia, what I will say is that most of the time, some of the undergraduate degrees we do, if you're coming into the UK to do a master's, you have to look at a number of things aside the interest.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't just be about, oh, I did nursing, so I want to come and do nursing again.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look beyond that. You have to look at issues of funding. So if you did nursing and you are searching for nursing masters and you are not getting any funding attached and you know you cannot fund yourself, spread yourself, look elsewhere, look into public health, look into biomedical science. Maybe you could get funding from those places which you can quickly
Mm,
transition into. So you shouldn't box yourself into one area and say, oh, I did nursing, so chinchiniachi, I have to still come and do
mhm,
nursing,
mhm,
even
mhm,
when you cannot get funding. So I think that is one of the mistakes some of us also do, because
mm.
at the end of the day, you have admission and you cannot get funding for it. So when
I
you are
think
looking,
that's a very important point, because
yeah,
what I've noticed is a lot of people restrict themselves. So I did nursing, so nursing one, I did this, so let me restrict myself. But I think the point that you're making is very important.
yes,
Explore,
yeah,
explore. I know people who did medicine in maybe science-based courses like chemistry in their undergrad, but have branched into
a lot,
completely new things
a
like
lot,
law and
a
so
lot.
many. You can branch. Your
Yeah,
brain is that big. That's how God created your brain. It's so big you can adapt to anything. So look for the courses that have funding opportunities, and
yeah,
if it will allow you, you can apply for those courses.
yes. So in my school right now, my one of my supervisors, she did engineering first degree, went on to do civil engineering masters, and did public health PhD.
Wow.
So from engineering to public health. In my case, I started with health administration. I went into public health. Now I'm doing data science, which is medical and healthcare studies, but with data science application. And so you don't have to box yourself into one place and say, oh, I did nursing, so I have to come and do it. It's good if you have it that way. That is if you have all the conditions to be right for you to continue through the same line. But if you think the conditions are not right, you are not getting funding where you were formally trained, just, I mean, spread yourself and look elsewhere and see whether you can get opportunities that you could easily tie into what you did in your undergraduate degree.
Okay. But in your experience, what have you seen a lot of Ghanaian students coming to do when they come to the UK? What do they come to do? Do you know which courses are maybe the most popular ones among the Ghanaian students?
I think I've seen a lot of people do public health. Maybe it's because
Public
I
health.
did public health, so most of my
Mm.
friends were public health students. I know a lot of people who didn't even have backgrounds in public health. I know people who did economics, people who did
Mm.
social science, and they are doing public health in the UK. So public health is one of the things a lot of people come here to do. So that
Mm.
is one of them. I think in the social sciences, you could think of things like IT, you could things like economics. I know a lot of people doing those kind of degrees, but largely public health.
Okay. So now let's go to answer people's the questions people have sent. I think Kiseno Edward Chakulemi, you asked the question earlier on. Says he wants to know about a good school for PhD in public health. Fortunately, you are also doing PhD in public health, right?
Yes, I'm into public
Great,
health.
great.
I mean, generally, yeah.
Mhm. So Edward Chakpo wants information about which school he can get a very good school for PhD in public health.
Yeah, so in public health, uh, currently, Aberdeen is ranked number one in the UK for medicine. So I would say they are one of them. You could think of schools like Oxford, Cambridge, I mean, Swansea, they all do PhDs in public health. But I think I have to say something about the PhDs in the UK. And that is, there are different forms of PhDs in the UK. So there are three fundamental types of PhDs in the UK. So you have to know which one you are coming in for
Mm,
prior to your application. Else you will be searching round, and you wouldn't really identify what you want. So we have PhD that are programs.
okay.
So you apply to the program, then you get admitted. Usually for those programs, you may not have a supervisor even prior to applying. So you go in, you get a supervisor. Some too, you may have to have a supervisor before you go in. Then you get to do a project of your choice between you and your supervisor. Then we have PhDs by project.
Okay.
Those are the PhDs you have to be targeting if you want scholarships. PhD by project. So every year, thousands of PhDs are advertised in the UK that are PhDs by project. So what a PhD by project means is that there is a research project that a university has funding for.
Okay.
Then they will advertise that we have this research topic. We want a
Oh,
student to
okay.
come in and investigate it. So that's a PhD by project. So
Okay.
when you are applying, you know the project you are the research project you are going to do. You know your supervisors. You know everything about the project prior to even applying. That's the type of PhD I'm doing now.
Okay. And you
When
said that those ones have more funding.
yes,
Okay.
those are
So
the ones
people
that
should
have
target
funding.
that one, PhD
Yeah,
by project. Okay.
by project.
Okay.
So
So Felix, I think this answer is for you and it's very good. Edward Felix Chakbo. So Rachel is saying that focus on PhD by project. So now that he's mentioned Aberdeen, you can start going to Aberdeen's website, look for the area of study and look at the projects there. Because most of these projects have funding attached to them. So you won't have a problem maybe moving from Ghana to the UK to study. No, Rachel, usually does those kind of funding, do they cover your travel expenses and study materials and all that? Do they cover them?
yeah, largely I think I've not seen any that will cover your travel expenses.
Okay.
But what happens is that you have some of them that are fully funded. So they will cover your expenses within the entire duration of the PhD. So they will give you yearly stipends, like they are paying you. They see the PhD as employment. So they are paying you for you to do the research. Then your school fees will be waived or taken away. Then you also have additional funding for your research. Like if you want to travel within the UK to collect some data or do something, they will pay for some of those things and conferences. There is a website that you could easily go and look for those things. We call it a findaphd.com.
Okay.
And that's why I identified all my PhDs.
Okay.
So if you go to the platform, there are categorizations in terms of the subject. So they categorize according to subjects. So you have engineering, you have chemistry, you have medicine, you have nursing and health. So this person who is asking about public health, his go-to place would be nursing and health and medicine. Those two subject categories. When he goes there, he'll see a lot of public health projects.
Okay.
I searched prior to coming in, and I think generally all the subject categories together, there are over 2,000 projects available now that they are looking for students to come and apply into. Some of them are fully funded. So he can go to findaphd.com, then choose a subject of his interest. So there are a lot of subjects. So in his case, he can go to nursing and health or medicine. When he goes there, he will see a lot of public health projects that are there. So he will go through, see which ones are, there are filters. So he can filter to say that he's a non-European student. And once you do that, you only get those projects that have a lot of funding with it. So you see those that are fully funded, then you apply to them.
Okay. Now let's move from the PhD, because a lot of our people who are coming online to ask questions are masters and undergrad people. So Stephen Kodia is asking about the IELTS. I think it's a major problem for a lot of students. I think one of these days our government should be able to argue or make a case for Ghanaian students with a lot of these international other countries. For instance, there's no way UK should be requiring Ghanaian. You gave us the English language anyway. I mean, it's too much of a burden. I've seen people who are Europeans or Americans who speak very terrible English. And just because they are Europeans or Americans, there's no requirement for English proficiency. But just because you are coming from Africa, somebody who has forced their language on you is asking you to prove IELTS. I don't know. How do you write the IELTS? British Council, tell us about it. How do you get it?
Yeah, they have their own system. I think they have centers in Ghana. So you would have to learn. There are people in Ghana too that do classes and all that for some of these things. So you have to learn to be able to go and write. But they have a center in Ghana that you can register. I think, I don't know, the last time I checked, it was around 1,600 Ghana cedi or something like that. I mean, for writing. So you have to search online. They have their website and they have centers in Ghana. So you write the exam in Ghana, and prior to that, there are people having remedials and all that for people who want to write IELTS. So,
Pilot.
yeah.
This is all what Kwesi Pratt will say. This is neo-colonialism. It's just a way of making money for these people. There is no way where the colonial masters who gave us a language should should require us to show that we can speak their language. It's a major foreign affairs issue that the foreign
Yeah.
affairs ministry must take up with, especially UK. The UK has no business asking Ghana and Nigeria and all these countries who have inherited your forced language. We should now prove that we can speak your language. I think this is a very big insult to a lot of, but that's
Yeah,
another
but
subject for another
to
day.
answer his question, I mean, if he's interested in avoiding the IELTS, what he can do is that he should identify the schools he wants. Most of the schools, that's what I said in the beginning, that most of the schools will waive the IELTS for Ghanaians. So if you go onto the website of the school, the particular program you are interested in my case, I applied to Aberdeen. Aberdeen didn't require IELTS from Ghanaians. All they required was your WASI. So A1 to C6. So most of the UK schools will tell you that if you are a Ghanaian, present your WASI.
Okay.
So I cannot list all the schools because I don't know all of them in their entry requirements.
But the ones you know,
Yes. What makes it difficult, Sister Fia, is that these things are program specific.
Okay.
So you cannot say Aberdeen does not accept IELTS for all programs. It could be that in Aberdeen they require IELTS for a certain program. So it makes it difficult to list schools. So what I'll tell
But then
people
the trick is when you search, read the courses requirements,
yes,
and make sure you select the ones that does not require the IELTS as one of the requirements for the course.
and sometimes, Sister Fia, it's not direct. Sometimes when you go onto the platform, the program website, they have two forms of qualifications. They have qualifications for UK students and qualifications for international students.
Oh, okay.
So if you are not a sophisticated searcher, the moment you see the UK requirements, you come back and say, this school is taking this, so I wouldn't apply. You have to click on international students. Even when you go to the international students session, when you get to the English language requirement, they will tell you you need IELTS. But somewhere in the message they put there, you will see they will write there are exemptions for certain things. So you have to click on that to take you to another page. Then you go and see whether Ghana is part of those they exempt the IELTS for.
Okay.
So you have to check that.
So let me ask you another question. Ramatu Jinko says, please, I'm into education. I have a diploma, which, okay, so it said I had a diploma, which is the years. I don't know what she wants. I think she wants to say she has a diploma and she did a top-up degree for 2 years and a year master's. Am I qualified for any PhD?
Yes. So as I said, the basic requirement for a PhD in the UK is a first degree, a bachelor's degree. And so if you have a master's, then it's even better. And Sister Fia, I should say that if you want a PhD with funding, like PhD by project, those kind of PhDs with funding, you have to demonstrate that you have the ability to conduct research, because PhD is about research. It's not about coursework, it's about research. So any kind of PhD you're applying to, your focus should not necessarily be your degree, but rather your ability to conduct research. And that is one thing we fail to look at when we are in school back in Ghana. And I always tell people that if you are even an undergraduate student and you are doing undergraduate research project, take that project seriously. Work with your supervisor and tell them this is what you want to look at. I mean, pursue after you are done with school. Let them help you and get that thesis published, to be on your record as somebody who has evidence of conducting research, so that when you are applying for a PhD, you don't struggle. It's so frustrating. You have people do MPhil, Master of Philosophy, which is a research degree in Ghana. They come out of the program 2 years after the program, they have no publication. And so it's so frustrating when you meet some of those people. If you're doing a master's degree, make it a point that I want to get this thing published. Invest
Mhm.
effort and time if you know you want to do a PhD. Because
Mm.
in my case, it was so easy for me to get PhD scholarships because of these things. Because by the
Okay.
time I even started my master's degree, I was having 10 publications already. So when I was doing my PhD, applying for PhD, I didn't struggle.
It wasn't difficult for you because you had some research
The
there. Yeah.
evidence is there. My
Mm.
publications are there to show that I can do research.
Okay.
So I don't have to convince you much. You can just go to my publications and see this guy can do research. And
So
so
that's the trick. What Richard is saying, that if your target is to study PhD, start getting some research materials available,
yes.
because it just doesn't happen in vacuum. Bright Africia, I think he sent a message. He says actually the islet is now 3,400 Ghana cedis. 3,900
I
for.
see.
So look
That's a
for, this
huge
is the
jump.
reason why this is even more justification that look for schools that doesn't require the IELTS,
Yes.
so that you can get admission without the IELTS.
I don't know
Read.
why people worry themselves. A lot of schools will not take the IELTS. So don't worry yourself for the 3,400. I mean, look for schools. A lot of top schools will not take the IELTS.
So
Don't
that Richard, is very important. It says a lot of schools don't even require the IELTS. So don't bother yourself. Save this money. You need it when you travel, to school. Jesse Enim. Jesse, say any school that runs MPH. MPH.
MPH is Master of Public Health. A lot of schools in the UK run MPH. Almost all universities in the UK run MPH. So, I mean, if it's about the UK, then you don't even have to ask this question. Just go. Almost all the schools in the UK run MPH programs.
Okay. Felix has come back again. He was asking him about a good school for infectious epidemiology or PhD in communicable and non-communicable diseases. Please, Felix, I will go back and watch the video I did with Professor Ajayi. If this is your interest, then I think Germany will be a good fit for you. Professor Ajayi is in charge of this epidemiology research and all that, one of the biggest universities in Germany. They have very good funding. They pay people, most of their PhD, 2,000 euros a month. 2,000 euros a month. Some of them even take 3,000, 3,500 a month. Target Germany. Go back and watch that video I did with Professor Ajayi. Germany will help you, because that's the
add
field.
to that, there are schools too in the UK that do a school like London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. All what they do is health research. London
Okay.
School of Hygiene and Tropical. Just I think a month ago, I met a Malawian, one guy from Malawi who is doing his PhD at that university, and so that's what they do. So if he's interested in all those things with communicable disease, infectious disease, he should target London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. That's all they do.
Okay. So that's the London School of Hygiene and Epidemiology. Edward, that's also a good fit for you. But Professor Ajayi is even watching us now. He's in, is it Oppenheimer? I have to look for that school. But they have good funding for Ghanaian students, and he already has I think 1 or 2 Ghanaian students who are studying with him. That's a science research based school, so it's a very good fit for you. Life Roots, Hayford Kobe, Life Roots. I think we've answered your question for you. Raymond Kote is asking about what about masters in education with funding. You did education at Winneba, so this guy is looking for masters in education. Any good school in the UK?
Yeah, I know Bradford does education. I know Aberdeen does education. I think the former NACA, is it chairman also? I think he's an MP now. I think he did education.
Oh, Dr.
Amma,
what's his name?
something,
Dr. Amma, yeah.
I think he did education in Aberdeen, something like either mathematics education or something. So I know most of the UK schools do education, masters in education, but the difficult part of your question is with funding. That would be difficult to tell at the moment because then you would have to be specific about what you're talking about when it comes to some of these things. So I would advise that you just go and search for masters in education in the UK. Once you get the list of schools, you can go onto the program website and see what funding they have for you.
Okay. So you see, everything we are saying here boils down to research. Start your research if your target is to start schooling next year, 2024. Your research must start now. so that by the end of this year, you have a number of applications. Because mind you, you may get a few schools, but you need to apply to more. The more schools you apply, the better your chances. And we have already said that the IELTS is not a requirement for all schools and all courses. So look very well. Don't go and give your 3,400 Ghana cedis to somebody to chop free, because people are hungry. So they will take your money if you let them. You understand? Isaac is asking about, I don't know if the UK does work permit, but he's asking about postgraduate studies with work permit.
Yeah, so whenever you granted a visa to the UK to do a master's or a PhD degree, I don't know really for the undergraduate, but for the master's and PhD, you are allowed to work 20 hours during term times. That is the time when school is in session. You're allowed to work for 20 hours. And outside of term time, that is when you're on vacation, you can work any number of hours you want. And
okay.
yes, when you graduate, I mean, when you are done with your studies, if it is a master's, you have 2 years post-study visa that you can apply to stay in the UK for 2 years. And if you're doing a PhD, you have 3 years after the program. So when it comes to work, yes, you can work whilst doing your master's, you can work whilst doing your PhD, only that it is restricted to 20 hours when school is in session.
Okay. I need to let people know that is very, very important. So let's look at another question. I think there was a question that somebody asked. I wanted to look for that question so that we can ask the question. But Isaac, I think Isaac, we've answered your question. You can get the work permit. It's very important. But I like the point that you said that outside the
it's automatic. It's not like in the UK you don't apply for the work permit separately. The moment you are given the visa, it's automatic. It's part of
all student visas in the UK come with work permit.
Yes, it comes with the work permit. It's on your BRP that you can work 20 hours when school is in session. So it's automatic. You don't apply for it separately.
Okay. So for those nurses who sent the message and were looking for masters in nursing, once in any case, can you apply for the masters in nursing with the nursing diploma that they get in Ghana?
Yeah, so it will depend on the particular school and program. That's why I was saying that even for some schools, even if you don't have a degree, some may grant you admission if you have significant experience.
Okay.
And so it's very much of a program and school specific. So they would have to go and look for the list of schools that offer masters in nursing. Okay. Once they get that, they can go onto the websites one after another to look at the requirements. If some of them allow for them to use the diploma to apply.
Okay. So, but the good thing for the nurses is that once you get maybe say a master's in nursing, you can work as a nurse in the UK because your student visa comes with, or you have to do some other work apart from nursing.
Yeah, before you work in the UK as a nurse, you need professional certification.
Okay.
So the nurses know a lot about it. I think they have a CBT and other exams that you have to write. So you could work in the healthcare sector, maybe
and still write your certification.
Yeah, and so I mean, you can work as a carer, you can work as a support worker, and be preparing to write in some of these professional examinations to be able to work in the UK. You don't need a master's degree in the UK to do nursing here. Even with a diploma or a bachelor's degree in nursing in Ghana, you can become a nurse here. Only that you will need some of these professional examinations, the IELTS, the CBT, and those things to be able to work as a nurse here.
Okay. So for the nurses, this is very important information for you to, if you want to upgrade your knowledge. And I mean, if you have a master's in nursing, and I know nurses now in Ghana who even have PhD in nursing, they are very much sought after, and they command even better salaries than some doctors I know. You cannot compare because she has a PhD. I know a friend of mine who has a PhD in nursing. Even the doctors fear her. When they get cases, she's almost the one that they talk to, and she has experience too, so it's very good to upgrade yourself, whether you live in Ghana or you go to the UK, whichever one, you still be, you have upgraded yourself and you are a good, asset to your society, whichever one you decide to live in. Now I have a question from PSA Boache. She's asking about she has HND in science, computer science, second class upper. What will you advise?
Yeah, so with computer science, I would advise that not just with computer science, but all those with HNDs, the same advice goes for you. Go on to the university's websites, identify the program you are interested in, look at their requirements. If they will allow you to apply with your HND, do it. If they will not allow you, then upgrade, maybe get a degree, then you can now come in with the degree.
Okay, so let's answer another person's question. I think Kosa Solomon's asking for best schools with PhD. But so Kosa, we've already answered this question, so you just go back and find out. Richard mentioned University of Aberdeen. He says look for project PhD rather than school specific, because most of the projects come with funding, good funding. So you'll be studying, but they will still be paying you. Well, I think that in the previous videos that I did, we've checked PhD in Norway, PhD in Sweden, all these two countries, and Germany, they all pay you in excess of 3,000 euros just to study. And Richard is talking about UK, that they do the same thing in UK. They take your PhD as work, so they pay you to study. You see, that's the reason why we do this program, because the opportunities are limited in Ghana. In Ghana, you won't get a PhD with funding. No. You won't get that in Ghana. So if you want to study PhD in Ghana, you have to be ready to pay for it yourself. But if you want to get funding, if you are only be like us, you necessarily have to look elsewhere for that. Kise, he says, please, sister, if you would like to know of those of us who have a diploma in basic education, how do we proceed abroad? You see, don't ask your questions like this. You do this and you expose yourself that you just want to travel abroad. You don't want to study. Are you ready to study? Which area do you want to study? Don't ask questions like, how do we proceed abroad? We are not here to show you how to proceed abroad. We are here to show you how you can study and come and help Ghana. So let's go to Charity. Charity says she's watching her. Charity, thank you so much for joining her. Aisha, Adele is watching us. Adele, thank you for watching us. Ramatu Ginto, I think Ramatu, we've answered your question. Daniel, let's go to Daniel. Daniel says, please, the school, some of the English you write in. That's why today we don't have a lot of people online, just because we decided to do the interview in English. And that's how we're going to do it. In English, we'll force you to speak the language. Other programs, you can speak the local language. But look, our mode of communication, official mode of study is English. So if you write English like this, then it means your personal statement, you struggle. You need somebody to help you to adjust. I know that when we are typing on our phone, sometimes our phone can play with us. So I know that's why we do that. So he says requirements. I think that he's asking about requirements.
Yeah, so I think his challenge is that the requirements are not easy to get. So I will give him two pieces of advice. One is that there is basically nothing easy to get in this world. So if it is your intention to go to school abroad, then don't set your mind to get things easy, because nothing about going abroad comes easy. So that is one. The number two is that no matter your qualification, so far as you fall within the second class lower upwards group, you can always find a school that those qualifications may get you in. So don't be scared by your low class that you had at the undergraduate level, say second class lower. There are always opportunities. And even in the UK, there is something I've not really researched much about, but there is something called clearance, where they allow you to come in to write some exam or something if your qualification is not up there to get you in, so that you use that as preparation. I know a Ghanaian that is here, that is in the college already having a bachelor's degree, but I think she got a third class. And so she's doing foundation year 1 year before she gets into the master's degree.
Master's program. So,
no matter your qualification, there are schools that will offer opportunities for you to get in. So don't sit back and say the requirements is not easy to get. The moment you set your mind that way, then you will never make any effort.
So because like you said, not everything you want to do is really not easy. You face some difficulty, but you go above it. Ben Sam says, I got a conditional offer letter from Angelia Ruskin University, and I got £1,000 scholarship. What is remaining is £14,000, and I'm supposed to pay 4,000 before I get the conditional offer. But you said you have a conditional offer.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, Sister Fia, most of the UK universities, or the UK universities, have two types of admission. So they have the conditional and unconditional. So usually at most you get the conditional offer with some conditions attached. And one of the common conditions is the deposit. So I think in her case, her deposit is 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So they will require that you pay something before they give you the unconditional. Once you pay that and you get the unconditional, then they can give you the cash to go and apply for your visa. Then when you come into the UK, you pay the rest. They have different arrangements. I know a lady at Sussex University who the school gave payment arrangement, monthly payment arrangement. So once she got into the UK, she'll be paying every month. So
Oh, okay.
they will
So you can
spread,
even do some small work on the side
yes.
and pay.
So they spread her fees across. So every month she'll be paying. I know some of them that schools give them 5 times installments.
Mm.
So once you're able to pay the deposit and you get in, you can negotiate with the school. Most of the time, these things are flexible. It's not rigid that the school say do this, and if you don't do it, you are out. No, you can negotiate. I know a lot of people who negotiate with schools that
Mm.
I cannot afford at this rate. So maybe look at my payment plan again. Then they can spread it for you. Then you
Mm.
pay it with time.
Okay, so let's go to another person. Wisdom Kojo Noklim, FO Wisdom. I see you. That's one of my friends. Is very, very loyal. Akosia Chelsea is asking about mathematics. You are in the science field. Do you know of schools that offer mathematics?
Yeah, I think some of these programs, most universities do it. So that is my general.
Okay.
These like programs like mathematics and pure sciences, most of
Mm-hmm.
the universities they offer programs in these areas. So
Mm.
if you're looking for programs in these areas, you don't have to have a problem at all. You just have to search masters in mathematics, bachelors in mathematics in the UK. You get a list of schools that
Mm.
offer these programs. So sometimes it gets intriguing when people are searching for certain programs. But if it's a straightforward program like mathematics, you don't have to struggle. Sometimes some of the students come in with the programs long names, maybe masters in this and international this and that and that. So that one is usually difficult to get a specific program like
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
something like mathematics, physics, engineering, you can easily search on Google and you will get a lot of schools that
Okay.
offer these programs.
Especially mathematics. This is an area that a lot of people do. People do more of humanities. People don't do. Everybody runs away from mathematics. People like me, we run away from mathematics. So if you are any of the science courses like engineering, mathematics, data, there's usually funding in a lot of the schools. So you are in a good place. Don't bother yourself. Just do the research and apply for the schools. Even if you target the schools we have mentioned, you are in a good place. I mean, we've mentioned University of Hull, Cayley University, Robert Gordon University, Glasgow Caledonian University, and Bradford University. We've mentioned all these schools that their fees are very manageable. But if you want the top tier schools, Richard spoke about the Russell Group, and we also spoke about Aberdeen University, Swansea, Bristol, Surrey University, Sheffield, Leeds University, London School of Economics, very big schools, and most of them also have funding available to you. So start your search from here and then scale up. You understand? Okay. Rosina, if you thank you very much. One of my daughters, one of my children want to study in Switzerland. Can you help us get a school for her there? Thank you. Rosina, we've done a video on Switzerland. I think if you go online on YouTube, on my YouTube channel on Vim Lady Online, you find I think I've done 2 videos on Switzerland, and they have very good scholarship. In fact, Switzerland they give you tuition, and they pay for your flight from Ghana. Your flight, everything is paid for from Ghana. They fly you all the way just to study. So if you get a scholarship in Switzerland, you're good to go. Unfortunately, they don't have an embassy in Ghana, so you have to take your visa from Nigeria, but it's still good. They'll just send you a DHL with all your documents and your visa and your work permit. And in Switzerland, you get admission plus work permit, like Richard is talking about in the UK. You use the same thing to work, so you don't. It's just like a one-stop shop. You don't have to hustle yourself. Isaac has a question. Says, if you are, didn't you send us the SOP PDF of your last speaker? Can you send it to me? The last speaker, I think I didn't do it. I still have it, but I can send you the slides if you want it. That's from Norway. Dr. Asante, who teaches there, sent us on how to write your personal statement. Richard, before you go, I'd like to maybe answer a question on that personal statement writing, because I think it's a lot of Ghanaian students kind of struggle with it.
Yeah. Yes, it's one of the important documents you need for applications almost everywhere. And for me, in my experience, what I've seen is that if you're writing a personal statement or a statement of purpose, there are certain things you shouldn't do, or it shouldn't be that your focus is on those things. So one of them is that your personal statement should not be an empathy seeking avenue.
the, the,
That's not where you go and tell everybody you have problems at home. I mean, you are poor, you need money, you need the funding, else you die. You don't do that over there. It's not an empathy seeking avenue. And number two, your personal statement is not the place you show that you are the Aristotle or Newton of the world. I read somebody's personal statement and they are writing, quoting Aristotle said this, so and so said this. So if you look at this in that way, that's not where you do that. Those things you will see it on your CV, in your academic records. Those things will show whether you're academically good. In your personal statement, what you're trying to do is sell yourself. Tell them the kind of person you are, what you think about the world, how your philosophy about uh, our world. That is where you demonstrate that the kind of human being you are. So I have a 5-step approach to looking at personal statement. That is what I've always used in my applications. The first thing is that your personal statement should identify a certain problem.
Okay.
So there should be a certain problem you're talking about. This problem could be personal, it could be societal, it could be national, it could be global. But you, the person writing the statement, you have to have some relation with that problem.
Okay.
So in my case, when I was writing my master's personal statement, and that personal statement won me a scholarship, the problem I identified is that when I was growing up, I saw a lot of my colleagues that in primary school, basic school, were very intelligent, just like me. But because they got into drugs, they couldn't realize their potential. And that was the problem for me, I identified. So after you identify the problem, and that's why I'm saying the problem can be anything, especially if you are writing for masters. Usually in masters, you need practical issues, but in PhD, it should be a research issue.
So it can even be that you have identified maybe the flooding, that the slight rainfall that Ghana experiences, we get flooding. It can be that maybe
the problem shouldn't be
they burn charcoal in your area, but the sustainability of the environment is an issue. You know,
it shouldn't be any Kuntai problem. It could be something so small, something specific about you. I know people who have written personal statements when they say maybe their mom died, and so they had to take care of their children, their siblings, and that will take you to the next steps I will talk about. So after you identify the problem, you have to identify a certain purpose with that problem, and that purpose should be personal. So you say, okay, I saw most of my colleagues who were intelligent in school falling off because of drugs. So that is a problem. What purpose did that give you? Seeing this, your mom died, so you took care of your siblings. What purpose in life did that give you? That experience. So in my case, I said from that early age, I purposed in my mind I would have to do something in public health, learn about how to promote health, to eradicate bad behaviors. And so for me, that was my purpose for my master's degree. So you have to identify some personal purpose that originates from certain issues in society or about your own experiences in life.
Intended to solve the problem you have identified.
Good. That's the third tip. So having identified the purpose, then you go on to tell us what you've done so far, which shows that you are consistently working towards that. And that will feed into your academics, your skills, the kind of things you've done in your life. So that's where you have to demonstrate your ability, what you've learned, the bachelor's degree you did, courses you undertook, the skills you built, and how those skills could come together to fit into the purpose you are talking about. Then having identified what you have done. You have to tell us what is left. Are there any gaps you think in your education, in your skills, that will not let you achieve the purpose you've identified?
Mm.
So in my case, I said I still feel I lack a lot of expertise when it comes to needs assessment,
Yeah,
when it
okay.
comes to research. And Sister Fia, the thing is, all these things you are saying should not only interlink with each other, they should also interlink with the course you are applying to, the
Oh,
school you
okay.
are applying to. So when I
Mm.
was saying all these things, I knew what the school is offering. So when I say I have a lack in needs assessment, I knew the school is having a course called needs assessment in the master's
Oh, okay.
program.
So it fits perfectly into
Good,
that. Mm.
good. When I said I lack research skills, I knew the University of Aberdeen was one of the few universities in the UK that has that is having a full 90 credit research thesis project course.
Mm.
And so I will say I still need more in
Okay.
research. And that
Okay.
is why I'm choosing University of Aberdeen. So then you tell us you've identified the gaps in your own skills and abilities.
Mhm.
How can the university help
Mhm.
you fill those gaps? So that's where you need to talk about the school, the
Okay.
university, the
Mm.
country, the particular program you are applying to. And to be able to do that, you should know the program, you should know the school, you should know the country you're going into, so that you use their unique selling propositions. I mean, the unique things they are doing in that department or in that program or in that school to
Mhm.
argue a case.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
I think the
So
problem is that the reading is the issue. A lot of people don't read and they want, like somebody has sent a message. If you are, what's the name of your guest? Can I get his number? Can he help me? Please, those things we won't do. All right. Ask a specific question. Maybe I've done my personal statement, I've filled my forms, but I'm stuck at this point. I've not completed my personal statement. Can you help me complete it? Can you fine tune my personal statement? Can you read through it? Can you advise me? Can you guide me? We will do that. But to do it for you, no, we will direct you to the agent who will probably do it for you for a fee. They will collect money because they won't come and waste their time and think for you, because you are supposed to do, you are the student, you are applying for the scholarship. I mean, so you have to start reading. And I'm surprised that a lot of you want the scholarship, but you do not want to read. So how do you expect to go through the course? Even at this stage that you haven't gotten the admission or the scholarship, you do not want to read. You want us to read for you and fill your forms for you. How do you expect to go through the course? So you start reading, and then we can top up the reading for you and guide you. Okay. Mhm. Elaine,
yeah,
okay. I see. Please, I want guidance in applying for a university in the US. Okay. This means you haven't even done your homework. You want guidance in applying for a university in the US. If you have done your homework, you see that we have videos on this. Okay. And if you have done your homework, you select a school. You at least you have about 5 schools. If you are, I want these schools. I've read about them. I've identified their courses. How can you guide me? Then we'll come in. Okay. So don't expect us to feed you with the bottle. We won't do that. Money. Eh,
Stevie, I think it's a
great.
very huge problem for some of these issues. I remember when I was seeking to apply for a PhD, and I realized that a recommendation letter would be absolutely necessary. One of the things I did was that I spoke to one of our lecturers in Aberdeen. And before I went to speak to her, I had gone to her profile on the university website,
Mm-hmm.
read her entire background, the schools she attended, right from her first degree, the projects she's done, the career she's been to. And I realized that she's been to Ghana before, she's been to Nigeria before, she's been to South Africa before. So when I went to meet her, I knew her interest.
Yeah.
I knew the things she wanted to focus on in the future. So when I started talking to her and I was talking about some of those things, she was so happy. I mean, she didn't know I've really read on her. And so when I was doing my PhD application to Swansea, she was the one that gave me a recommendation. She had, at the time, she had known me for just 1 month. But if I tell you the kind of things she wrote in my recommendation letter, it was like she's knew me for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So sometimes before you go to ask somebody a question, make sure you've really delved into the kind of things you want to go and ask, so that the few gaps that are left, that those are the things you're going to ask them. It's not like you come, oh, I want to apply for school in US. That's too broad.
Yeah, too
It's
broad.
too broad.
Too broad. So let's answer this. Shati Brown says, Sister Fia, please, I have HND in Secretariatship and Management and Management Studies, and I want to top up. You want to do a top up in human resources management. Is there a school I can apply to? This one could have been cured by research, but Rich, do you have any
Yes,
schools
I mean,
that
if
offer
it is
human resource management?
human resource management, on the top of my head, I don't know of schools that do offer that, but I'm sure this is a very popular program that a lot of schools in the UK will offer. I mean, in the UK or elsewhere will offer. So she can easily just go to Google, human resource management degrees. By top up, I mean, I think she wants to do a bachelor's degree. So she can just search bachelor's degree in human resource management in the UK, US, or wherever, and she'll get a list of schools. So, especially when you are certain about the program you want to do, it shouldn't be difficult for you. Just go on Google, search HR master's degrees in UK. You get a list of schools that offer such programs.
Okay, so somebody on Vim Lady Online on YouTube, the YouTube channel says, for you, Mary says, let us not forget about Commonwealth and Chevening Scholarship for UK studies. We've spoken about Chevening scholarship, but are you aware of the Commonwealth scholarship as well?
Yes, the Commonwealth has 2 scholarships. I think they even have 3. Only that one of them wouldn't take you to the UK. One will take you to other countries, including KUST. So they have 2 scholarships. One is the Commonwealth Split Scholarship, which is online. So that one, if you apply for it, you have to take your studies in Ghana and do the studies online. But there is one that will take you to the UK, which everybody that wants to go to the UK can apply to. So they have their application period. So you have to go to their website. I think they have a website for that. So you have to go there. The Commonwealth, if you search on Google Commonwealth Scholarship to the UK, you will see their website. You go there and monitor their website for when they will open the applications. When they open, you can apply.
Okay. So the applications, like he said, Richard says, the UK schools application is throughout the year, all year round. It's not like the US schools or maybe other European schools where they have winter, summer, spring, fall admission, that kind of thing. In the UK, is all year round, but he mentioned that it's mostly around January and September. So if you are looking at September 2024, start your research now. Start applying because you need a lot of the documents. And he mentioned, he took us through how to do your personal statement. It's very important. These are the things that young people should focus. You see people going to study abroad and you are jealous. But when the information is put right in front of you, consume it and just use it for your own benefit. People don't want to do the work. It's for your own interest, please. And those who are looking for the Switzerland and Norwegian, German scholarship, go to YouTube on Vim Lady Online. Vim Lady Online. I have videos with Professor Ajayi. He's one of the departmental heads. I've even done videos in Seychelles. Seychelles also offer very, very good courses. They are even recruiting nurses from Ghana, nurses and teachers. Nurses and teachers. They are recruiting them to work in Seychelles. You remember Otunfo just came from Seychelles recently. They are recruiting nurses and teachers over there in Seychelles. Read, and if you read, you'll find that. Kwame Louis says, please let Brother Felix throw more light. Okay, this is Richard. It's not Felix. Throw more light on personal statements. He's just done that. He's just done the personal statements. You know, we because our 1 hour is almost up. Kisei has come back again with this question. Says, please, I have a diploma in basic education and I want to divert to agric science. I like to do either of the schools mentioned earlier. Can I get any offering in this course? Yes, Richard has already mentioned you can. So start reading from the schools that we mentioned. That is University of Hull, Keele University, Robert Gordon University, Glasgow Caledonian University, Bradford University, and we've also mentioned Aberdeen University, Swansea University, Bristol University, Surrey University, Sheffield University. We've mentioned London School of Economics, Leeds University. All of them, go to their website and start checking on the courses. If you want to do agric, they would have agric courses and see the funding that is available. Because, like Richard said, there are funding available for the courses. Nanaya, I see, says so. The scholarship in the UK university, is it normally automatic or you have to apply for it? Rich.
Yeah, so it depends on the program. If it is a PhD by project, usually the scholarship is automatic. So once you're applying for the project, you know that the project has funding, so it's automatic. Some of the masters too, they have the scholarships being automatic, whilst others are external. Some of the scholarships are external, like Chevening, Commonwealth are external. They are independent of the schools, so you have to apply them separately. And some schools do offer internal scholarships. Like Aberdeen has a global scholarship for every international student. So the moment you are admitted as an international student and you're going to pay your fees, they waive a certain amount. And some of the schools have that. A lot of the schools have international waivers that they apply automatically. Some too, you have to apply for them independent of the program. So it's both.
Okay, so Fred, I have a question for Nanadwa. It says we're doing a good job, Nanadwa. Thank you so much. And I think Seidu Damba Keita, it says good afternoon. If you my name is Seidu Damba Keita, a graduate from University of Education Winnipeg with a bachelor's of arts in political science education. My question is simple. I have a conditional offer from University of Aberdeen to pursue MSc in international relations, but I have difficulty securing the rest of the funding. The funding opportunity available is less than £2,000, and they describe it as global scholarship. Are there institutions in the UK that can support? For instance, Richard, I think that in the US, the last time we spoke to other US schools, they had third-party funding organizations like Empower and all that give you international students loans. Do you have that in the UK? I think that's what he's asking for. Because they only gave him a scholarship of £2,000. I would say you are even lucky, because probably in Ghana you may not get, unless you know some politician or your MP will make a case for you for the Get Fund. Because the last time the list came out, even the MPs themselves were enjoying the Get Fund scholarship. So you are fortunate. Are there funding opportunities from third-party sources that he can get to add to his funding?
Yeah, so for masters, it's usually very limited, but there are the only external scholarships I know for UK masters is the Chevening and Commonwealth. So if he missed both of them, then I guess the only other place he could look at is either local Ghanaian scholarships or his own funding. Outside of that, I don't know of institutions in the UK that will offer scholarships for master's degree. Usually, those opportunities are very limited. So it's either the Chevening, Commonwealth, or the local Ghanaian scholarships. Outside of that,
then Get Fund will help. Get Fund will help him to add if he applies
for Get Fund. The Scholarship Secretariat also offers.
They are under investigation, so they probably special prosecutor is investigating them. So maybe they will put a freeze on.
GMPC also has.
Yes, GMPC. So I think your answer is Seidu. GMPC, you can approach GMPC, the GMPC Foundation, Get Fund, Scholarship Secretariat to top up from where you are. Then that would be a great help. Bright Africia is asking about public administration PhD. We've done that, and unfortunately, Richard is doing public education, so you are in a comfortable lead. Aberdeen University does that, and they have funding available as well. So just start your research. Make sure you have a good research material, good research paper, and you may get it. I want us to wrap it up because we have just a few minutes. But James Affordy says we didn't answer his question. James Affordy, what's your question? Can you answer it again? Because sometimes the messages are many, so I can gloss over it mistakenly. Akomia says, she says, if you have a degree in environmental resource management, can you recommend any school environmental research management?
Yeah, so he should be interested. If he wants to follow in the same line, then there are a number of ways you could look at it. You can be interested in programs that have some relationship with environmental management or environmental science. So then he can go on and search for environmental science degrees or environmental health or environmental management degrees. And this is an area, again, that a lot of universities have programs for. And so the problem shouldn't be the university, the problem should be the program he's interested in. Most of the time, if you have a degree like this, environmental resource, it has a lot of applications. So you can get a lot of programs that you may be interested in, not necessarily the environmental resource management, because you may never get a course. You may not get a course in the UK called environmental resource management.
But you can get something related.
Yes, maybe environmental science,
Yeah.
environmental health, environmental. I mean, in those.
Okay. So Miss Docker says she has a BSc in chemistry. Can she apply straight to PhD? You said that was possible from the beginning. You have already
That's
explained that.
very possible. That's one of the things a lot of people don't know. If you have, but you must have a good class, and you should also demonstrate that you are interested in or can do research. So if you want to come in to do a PhD with your bachelor's degree, then you should have a good class first of all. And the minimum requirement is 2-1 in the UK. In the UK, if you say 2-1, it means second class upper. But usually the minimum requirement may not be enough. So if you have something like a first class, then you are almost at a safer ground to do a PhD directly.
Okay. So Daniel Ban Achivo is saying that, please, I want to ask if UK schools require GRE. I don't think so. I think GRE is more of US schools. So UK schools don't require a GRE. Even it's graduates, something is for US schools. But even for US schools, a lot of them don't require it. They look at other things. So, and Dorcas, we've already answered your question. So James Affordi, you didn't ask your question again. So ask your question again if you want us to answer, else we are wrapping up. Messiah or Makaya, I think Makaya, says, good afternoon, Vim Lady. Please, I have intention of applying for a master's degree in either Padu. What was that? I think it's a school. It's a school. But I graduated with a pass. Okay. So Doc, he says he has a pass, but he wants to do his master's. You think he should do his undergrad again?
It's difficult to advise with a pass. I don't know, not discouraging her, but I think she could look around and look for schools that may have some flexible arrangements. Usually you could have a foundation year. So you come in, they prepare you for 1 year before they lift you onto the master's program. Some schools have that. So she could look around, he could look around that, but it's always difficult when you are in such a position. I wouldn't advise that he should do a bachelor's again, but he can look at schools that may have preparatory courses before they get into the master's.
Okay. So James Affordi says he has a marketing degree and he wants to do a master's in business analytics, like some kind of data stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, so obviously in the UK, one of the best places to do anything with analytics and data is Swansea, because they have a very huge hub for, and I think I know a student I met 2 weeks ago who is doing business analytics at Swansea, and he told me he has, aside the global scholarship, he also had additional waiver from the university to do the business analytics. So he can look at Swansea, because Swansea is one of the best for data when it comes to issues to do with analysis and data and all that.
Okay. So you are in a good place, James. Swansea. Start doing your research right now. You can go to the website of the school. Nanajua says, what of second class lower if you want to apply for a master's in the UK? We've already answered that question. It's possible to get it. Just make sure you write your personal statement. All your stuff are very in good. And he has given you tips on how you can write a very good personal statement. Wisdom Awogan says, hello, if you have a BSc in mathematics and I have some SOP, can you suggest a lecturer to review for me? Okay, statement of purpose. Don't worry, you send it to me, maybe in my inbox, then I'll forward it to him to help you. This is somebody who's thinking, he's at least taking some steps. You understand? Kujo Fiti says, material engineering, BSc, opting for master's or PhD. You can do it, and the schools he has, I think Aberdeen engineering, Aberdeen is a good school and they have good funding to available. In Aberdeen, you meet a whole Ghanaian. Aberdeen, they won't even give you trouble because I think some of their faculty workers are even Ghanaians. So they understand that a lot of Ghanaians have gone through Aberdeen. A lot of the GMPC workers have gone through Aberdeen. A lot of our ministers have gone through Aberdeen. So Ghana is very popular in Aberdeen. It's very popular. Nobody will ask you questions. I think if you choose Aberdeen, London School of Economics, very popular with Ghanaians. A lot of Ghanaians go through there. Those schools, they have encountered that. They know our system. They won't ask you too many questions, but you are gone. So Richard, let me come to you again. So, wrap up for me. Basic things you need if UK is your target to study abroad.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the masters people. I guess they are the majority. I mean, majority of Ghanaians who are seeking opportunities outside want to go into some master's program. And so for them, you basically need a bachelor's degree. If you want to have it a bit easier, then you have to help yourself by having, say, a second class upper. But if you have a lower, then that's also a good statement on your behalf. You need a CV. You usually need an SOP, which is the statement of purpose. The various schools have ways of calling that. Then you also need a recommendation from your previous lecturer. So most of the schools take just one. So if you have one letter from a lecturer, then that's fine. And when it comes to English language too, you can, I mean, go around with your WASI. You don't necessarily have to have IELTS if your target is the UK. When it comes to PhD, the basic requirement is your first degree. You should have at a minimum your second class upper. If you want it to be, I mean, you want to be on a safe ground, then a first class would be better. Then if you have a master's too, that is also better. Then you also need all the requirements I've mentioned for masters: SOP, CV, recommendation. Usually for PhDs, they require 2 recommendation letters. So you have to notice that if it's a PhD, then you may be required to have 2 recommendation letters. And the additional thing with PhDs is that you have to demonstrate that you are either so much interested in research or you can do research. And that is where I said, if you are a student now and you have a long-term plan of doing a PhD, then position yourself in such a way that by the time you're done with your bachelor's degree or master's degree, at least put one publication across. And these days, it's not difficult to get a publication. So you can do that and get a publication. That will be a very big statement on your CV. So I think these are the things we need to have. And a general advice is that nothing comes easy. So if you're seeking to go out or come in, you have to put in at the back of your head that there's a lot of things you have to do in terms of preparation, financial resources, time resources, and before you can get in. So you have to know that also.
And can you do a summary of the student visa application, the UK student visa application?
Yeah, so with the student visa for UK, it depends on the condition you have. So if it is a scholarship, then usually you wouldn't have to demonstrate that you have financial ability. But if you are self-funded, then you have to show that you have financial ability. And the UK government requires that the money you are using to demonstrate that you have financial ability should have been in your bank account for consecutive 32 days. So you have to show that it's been there for, like, say, 31 days prior to you printing the statement. So you should have that. Then all the other things, you must have an unconditional letter from the school, an unconditional admission. Then you must also have a CAS, which is the confirmation of acceptance of studies. Aside all the basic information you will need in your application, your social demographics, your name, those things, I mean, age and those things, they should be in order. Your certificates that you use to get the admission, they will require for it. They will request
Even
for it.
for the visa, they will require for it.
Yes, they will request for all the documents you use to get the admission. So in my case, when I was reapplying for my PhD visa, they requested for everything I used to apply for my PhD, and the same for my bachelor's degree. So the certificates you use to apply for admission, don't throw them away and say, I've gotten admission, so that's it. They'll call for it. So all those things have to be there before you can successfully go through the visa applications.
Okay. And for UK visa, you have already told us that once you get the student visa, it comes with automatic work permit. You are allowed to work 20 hours. But when school is on vacation, you are allowed to work any number of hours you want. This is also good for the nurses who want to upgrade their knowledge and do their masters. You can do it even with your diploma. You can do it. He's already mentioned it. Start searching the schools we've given you. If you are looking to pay your own fees, then you target schools that don't have the fees. The tuition is kind of low. Okay, and we've mentioned University of Hull, Kelly University, Robert Gordon University, Glasgow Caledonian University, Bradford University. For the big schools that they are almost like Ivy League UK schools, and so you may not get cheaper tuition, but you will still probably get scholarship. Is University of Aberdeen, Swansea University, Bristol University, Surrey University, Sheffield, London School of Economics, Leeds University. We've mentioned all these schools that you can Google them and go to their website and do it. And like somebody said, they are sending their SOP, statement of purpose. We'll look at it and guide the person. If you've done something and you are stuck, we can help you. But to say that we should do everything from scratch, that would be very difficult. So, Richard, thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us. At least to help our fellow Ghanaians to also get the opportunity. Like I said in my intro, the opportunity in our country is limited because it's a developing country. And so even in the days of Nkrumah, if we felt the need to study abroad, our current president studied abroad. A lot of our big men have studied abroad, where apart from the limited opportunities, you also get exposure to other people. It benefits you yourself. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mr. Yeah.
Thank you. So we've been talking to Richard Kojopoku. That's the full name, right?
So my name is Richmond Opoku. Kwajopoku is just my social media.
Your social media name. Okay. Okay. So Kojo Richmond Opoku. Thank you so much. Richmond Opoku is a PhD student in the UK. So it was and he did his master's in the UK as well. We are fortunate to have him to guide us as somebody who is in the system, who can tell you how he went there. And look, this is somebody who went all the way from Tuobodom, to University of Winneba. And now he's doing his PhD with 4 scholarships in the United Kingdom. You can do it. You don't have to be the son of despite before you get this opportunity. If you take your time to read, you can also get the same opportunity. And that's why we are here, so that we can also introduce you to some people who share their experience and help you. So thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. So before we go, I think we have Saeed Karim says he has a certificate in hardware and networking certificate in basic cybersecurity. The cybersecurity is one of the juicy, most sought after skills in the global space now. So if you have that skill, Saeed, you're good to go. I think that you can do a top up in US or UK and go back to Vim Lady Online. Watch the videos I did with Elizabeth Hammond. She's an admissions officer in the US, in Utah. Well, her school, I think Weber State University in Utah, they offer scholarship for those who did what you're doing, which is cybersecurity and all those fancy sought after courses. Adams Wade Ghana said a friend of mine followed your program and he has succeeded in getting scholarship in Germany. Well, we thank God. We thank God. 2 students came from Ghana to Weber State College in the US. They've even almost finished 1 semester, and because of this program. So thank you. If you take it, it's good for you. If you don't, but my name has been Efia Poku. I will continue again next week, God willing. Thank you so much. Thank you.